hello. It's new. Hey, we're gonna show you another way to design your t-shirt. Now, I'm here right now by myself, but later I'll be joined by Belle, Kitty, and Chloe. And they're gonna design some shorts too, but they're not here right this second, so it's just me. Now, this t-shirt design is called a Holi t-shirt, or you may see it around as a color run shirt, where you know they do those 5K races and those sorts of things. The original idea though came from the Indian festival of colors, the arrival of spring. There's some roots with Hinduism. It's got like a whole history thing to it. So if you want, Google that. Super cool. We see it a lot, although we do see the traditional celebrations. We see it in America through t-shirt designs, a lot through color runs. And that typically there'll be a 5K or a mile run, and you'll wear a shirt and you'll have people throwing dice. Now, we decided not to go with the running and throwing dice because it gets, you know, all up in the air, and that's kind of a little bit more mess than we thought we would make. But we did decide to go ahead when we put our chalk. We used chalk, not washable chalk, regular chalk. Washable chalk goes right out. We tried that and it did not work. We got white shirts out of the washer and we were sad, so we had to do it again. But then again, we had twice the fun doing it. So we decided to go ahead and take our chalk and we broke it up, and without trying to pick up too much into the air, laid it out on our shirts that were laying on the ground without us in them, laying on the ground. Now, as I said, there are lots of different ways to do this. You might be able to buy some actual Holi powder on the internet, but we just went with chalk. And again, not washable chalk, regular chalk. And this is one of mine that I came up with, so you'll have to see the other ones. Check out our slideshow. Now, this activity, you need not only your caregiver's permission to use your shirt, the shirt you decide on, and also the chalk you may use and where to do this. Again, this is an outside thing for part of it. You have to come back in and use an iron too. So we're gonna need some adult help with this one. We'll use a hammer to break our chalk up with, which you have to be very careful. Little tip, leave the bag open. And then that way at the top, and you'll see later with the hammer, otherwise you'll explode the bag. But you'll need your adult with the hammer, and you'll need your adult with the ironing. And again, probably with the washer. So some of those things you might need to be able to do on your own, but you need to get your caregiver's permission before you do these activities. And again, it's going to get messy, so outside is better. So have super fun, and I can't wait to see your t-shirt designs. Okay, to make your shirts, here's what you need. The first thing you need is your shirt. Now, you need your caregiver's permission before you decide what shirt. And if it's your day camp shirt, then it's still you need your caregiver's permission. So that's the first thing you need, a shirt with your caregiver's permission, because we're going to stain it. We're making a mess again. So we have our shirts here. They're in this giant tub. We have our shirts already soaking in vinegar. And if you're doing just one shirt, you may just put it in a bag, but since we're doing our shirts all together, several of us, we have it in this big bin. And we have our vinegar that we talked about. Now, you obviously don't need a whole gallon, but enough to soak your shirt through. You will need straight vinegar, not half and half, but straight vinegar works best. And we want to be, again, outside because this smells. The next thing we're going to need is actually our gloves, because we don't want our hands to smell too much like vinegar, so we need to wear our gloves while we're handling our wet shirts. Next thing is we're gonna need a hammer. Now again, we need our caregiver's permission, and they probably need to help us with this because we need to make sure not to hurt our hands with this. We have our hands. The next thing we're gonna need is our different colors of chalk with each color in its own bag. And we have a couple of colors here. Now, the reason why it needs to be each in its own bag is we already did this one, and I think you can probably see that. It just kind of all mushes up and kind of turns to brown if you don't have each one separated to start with. Now, if you notice, these are the same bags that we used for our tie-dye. So we reused. You want to make sure that it doesn't have to be a zip-top bag. But you want to make sure each color is in its own bag. So, I think we're ready to get started. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Awesome. Now that we've actually heard our outside supplies, let's talk about a few things you're going to need inside. So before we actually get started doing our t-shirts, let's go over that. You're going to need an ironing board to start with. Now, if you have an old cover for your ironing board, that makes it even better. This one's actually old and stained from doing silly stuff like t-shirts. So I have that. We have a couple of old towels that we've actually covered our ironing board with, even if the cover's old. And again, get your caregiver's permission before you decide which towels are old. And then that way there's less chance, because when we bring our shirts in, they're going to be covered in vinegar. So you want to make sure to have something to sop up that vinegar. You need a pressing cloth. Now, this is Chloe's bandana. Remember from our hike video. You want to make sure that this is something, it needs to be 100% cotton, which you're using with your iron. Make sure that this is something that if it gets ruined, it's okay. And I'm kind of excited about the idea that we may get a little decoration on Chloe's bandana. The next thing you're going to need is an iron. And your iron, the hot, you need an adult to help you with your iron. So adult supervision. Just be careful, you can burn yourself with an iron. It hits really hot. And then you're gonna need floor covering, and I won't show you that right now, but you wanna cover your floor that you're gonna stand, because there'll still be some loose bits of chalk. No matter how well you shake it out, there'll be some loose bits of chalk, and if it gets on that floor, it'll grind in, it'll stain. So make sure that you've covered your floor as well. I am working by an open window, which I probably will mention more than once. And then that way, with the fan blowing, that's part of what the noise is, that way that the smell of the vinegar will get outside and not be in the house because it smells. Now, the first thing we're going to need to do is make sure that our bag is open, because otherwise we'll just end up bursting our bag. We take our chalk and we put it on the ground, works best, on the ground. This way we can, if we do it on the brick, we might damage the brick, and it also makes a mess. So whatever this surface is on, because this is going to poke holes in your bag, you will want to excuse me, have it on a surface. You'll take your hammer, keep your hands back, and take your hammer, and it may take a little bit, but you'll want to smash your chalk. Again, keep your hands back, spread it out, and you want to keep going until it's some small pieces. And it does put holes in the bag, so be careful. Now we've taken our shirts that have soaked in vinegar for at least 15 minutes. We're gonna take them still wet, and we're gonna lay them out in the grass. Now with all the holes in your bag that you created, hold it down close to your shirt, otherwise it'll just go in the air, because you don't want to be breathing this. Go over the shirts. get the backs. Now we're done with our shirts. We're going to carefully shake off any of the big chunks. There can be some left on, but we want the big chunks out, off. We're gonna go ahead and, with our gloves on again, go ahead and turn our shirt inside out for the next step. This is where the bin goes again. It's good to put them in the bin. Now we take them inside. Now we are back inside. I brought my bin with my shirts in it, and I have covered the my ironing board with some old towels so that I can get ready to iron my shirts, to heat set the chalk in them. Now I don't have my gloves because I don't want to use my glove with my iron, but that's part of the reason why we turn our shirts inside out. And lay it on our ironing board. Now you want to make sure over your bin and shake out any extra. If you get this on the floor, it can stain your floor, so you might want to put a tablecloth down. Now, because this vinegar smells, I have my window open that I am working right beside. I have my fan going, and I have my sliding glass door over there open as well. Now I'm going to take my pressing cloth, which, remember Chloe's bandana, she's gonna let me borrow this. This may get a little yucky, or colorful I should say, so that's why I picked something that it's okay if it gets stained. I will put this on top. I will take my iron that's turned on, that you need an adult, hot. And you will press your shirt. Kind of an up and down motion. Make sure your iron is set for cotton. I just had to reset it, so. And I will just press it like this to set. Heat set the chalk. Now you might end up with a little bit of transfer from this, but that's okay. It just adds to your design. And I will just continue to do this until I'm done. When I'm done with that spot, I will move my pressing cloth over here, and I will press again. Now you may hear a little bit of a steaming noise. That's the vinegar heating, and that is exactly why we're standing next to an open window with the fan running, because it starts to smell. It's probably not all that healthy either. You want to go over your whole shirt, back and front. Leave it turned inside out though to protect your design, the printed on design. Okay, and that's what you do. You would just keep going through the whole shirt, but I don't think you want to watch me do that. And then after you have heat set it, it should be a little warm, you can lay this flat to dry. I would recommend you laying it flat outside. I have heard you can throw them in the dryer for about 10 minutes to set it, but that sounds really past messy. You have to clean the dryer when you're done, so I'm not gonna do that. Take your shirt, keep it inside out, and go ahead and wash that in your washing machine in cold water. You'll need to watch out for any of the little chalk bits that have fallen off. You'll need to make sure and clean up very well, because this chalk will still stain other things it gets onto. Clean the floor, make sure your iron's clean, clean up your mess. We had so much fun making our color shirts with you. We can't wait to see yours, so please don't forget to send in a picture. We'll see you later. Bye!